Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolits. Hoping that you will not skip my ads, it's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
Those who heard the news were all stunned, with their mouths gaping so wide they couldn't close them for a long moment. Who would be so ignorant and reckless in provoking the goodwill sect? All of a sudden, the empty streets became chaotic. Hundreds of martial artists in the advanced level and over 1,000 martial artists in the intermediate level were searching and looking for someone on the streets. They even directly barged into some smaller sects to search thoroughly. The stronger sects firmly refused the request. Everyone was still curious to find out who would have the guts and courage to do something so outrageous. In the suburbs of the imperial capital, there was a place with no light source. Zane Martel and Amara suddenly flickered and appeared in this place. Although they had escaped from being hunted down, they did not look relieved at all. Instead, they looked even more troubled.
This is all your fault. If I knew this was going to happen, I wouldn't have eyed after your celestial life pill, and now we end up being hunted down by the goodwill sect in the imperial capital. This is insane.
She frowned and shook her head, patting her heaving chest. Zane Martel did not expect this to happen too. He frowned and started pondering on ideas.
This only happened because of that guy in the expert level, or I would have abducted Beth already. Now that we have alerted the elders of the goodwill sect in the expert level, it's almost impossible for us to make a move again. We can only wait until the sect competition, but this also somehow proves my assumptions. Beth must be someone important. Sebastian's plan will be affected if something happens to her.
Zane Martel's fighting spirit was once again ignited. He turned around to look at Amara and looked apologetic.
Amara, let's call it a day. Why don't we head back home and go our separate ways from now on? We should act as if we've never seen each other before.
Zane Martel was about to walk away after saying that. Amara quickly grabbed the hem of Zane Martel's shirt and widened her eyes.
Are you leaving just like that?
What else? Should I stay and eat with you?
Where's my celestial life pill? I've risked my life for you. Are you going to erase it just like that?
She spread out her palm, gesturing for him to hand it over.
You're yet to complete your task, aren't you? So why should I give you your share next time? I'll give it to you next time.
Amara stomped her feet in anger again at how shameless Zane Martel was, and she felt like she was about to puke blood. She refused to let go of Zane Martel and said,
I don't care. You must give me 3 celestial life pills, and I won't accept any less than that.
I'll give you 1.
No, you must at least give me 2.
Fine. Deal.
Zane Martel took out 2 pills and stuffed them into her hand as he said with a smile,
We will have nothing to do with each other from now onward.
Amara was stunned and suddenly felt as if she had been fooled. But then, a wild laughter suddenly appeared from the skies.
Ha 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 ha. What 3 or 2 pills? You two are just rats. How dare you invade the goodwill sect? I'll take everything you have after killing you two.
As they spoke, they punched out, and the punch was surrounded by bright and crystal clear light.
Damn it, how did the goodwill sect find us so quickly?
Zane Martel reacted immediately by pushing Amara aside and striking out with his thunderbolt fist. Slam, slap! The incoming attack from the sky was instantly shattered, and the remaining momentum crushed them heavily. The disciple of the goodwill sect exploded due to the momentum, and his corpse fell to the ground. Soon, more than a dozen disciples of the goodwill sect descended and surrounded the 2 of them. Most of them were in the 2nd stage of the advanced level, and 2 of them were in the 3rd stage. After seeing Zane Martel and Amara's black outfits, their murderous intent grew stronger. One of them in the 3rd stage of the advanced level suddenly let out a roar and revealed a long spear pointing in the air. The spear light was very dazzling, and there was a loud sound of it breaking through the air. Zane Martel waved his hand, holding the Black Abyss sword, and suddenly struck it. The 2 collided, and a huge sound wave immediately erupted. The burly man of the 3rd stage of the advanced level trembled and was sent flying hundreds of meters away by Zane Martel, almost leaving no trace behind. All the bones in his body were almost crushed. Warm liquid surged in his throat before he spat out blood.
How is he so powerful? Didn't they say he's in the 2nd stage of the advanced level? How did this happen? He must die.
Stop standing there doing nothing. Let's kill him together.
Yes, sir.
Immediately, more than a dozen disciples of the Goodwill sect attacked at the same time, revealing all kinds of moves and martial arts techniques. However, Zane Martel held and waved the Black Abyss sword in his hand, releasing streaks of sharp sword energy, easily killing the few people rushing at him at the front. Beside him, Amara was surrounded by flames that looked like fiery red flowers dancing around her body. With a gentle tap of her finger, the petals flew out. The petals were sharp and impossible to crush, so they also quickly killed a few of the enemy. Explosions occurred one after another. The more than a dozen disciples of the Goodwill sect could not hold on for more than a few rounds with Zane Martel and Amara, and were killed. The remaining two disciples of the third stage of the advanced level were absolutely horrified and couldn't believe what they'd witnessed.
Stop! How dare you bastards kill people of the Goodwill? Do you know where you are now? You're in the Imperial capital, the Goodwill sect's territory. It's no different from provoking God itself. For you to provoke us, you will pay for this.
The Goodwill sect disciple roared, and his eyes were bloodshot. However, Zane Martel and Amara were unfazed. They exchanged a smile at each other.
Should we take one each?
Sure, let's see who's faster.
Amara was decisive. Then she transformed into a ball of exploding flames as she shot into the sky, beginning her battle with one martial artist in the third stage of the advanced level. Seeing this, Zane Martel held the Black Abyss sword in his hand and fought another. Every time the spear collided with the Black Abyss sword, it would tremble violently. The horrible momentum reached the burly man's arm, making him feel numb all over.
Damn it, go to hell.
The burly man was furious. Zane Martel's strength slowly made him fall into despair. No matter how hard the burly man tried attacking, he could not hurt Zane Martel at all. An overbearing sword energy flew over and directly dismembered the burly man. Zane Martel immediately devoured his blood energy, vital energy, and talent. He also put the storage ring away. Meanwhile, Amara had also successfully killed the martial artist in the third stage of the advanced level. She was surprised that Zane Martel was faster than her. What will happen next? Will Zane Martel and Amara continue to evade the Goodwill sect's relentless pursuit, or is there a greater challenge awaiting them? It only took a few minutes for the disciples of the Goodwill sect to find them and be killed. Zane Martel and Amara were simply too powerful. Although the Goodwill sect got them outnumbered, they still couldn't defeat the two. Later on, Zane Martel took off the storage rings from the corpses and asked Amara, who stood still next to him.
We got many storage rings. Are you sure you don't want any of them?
Amara scoffed at his behavior.
They were only ordinary disciples. What good stuff could they have? Forget it, I'm leaving now. I'll be in trouble if the Goodwill sect finds my true identity.
With this, Amara flickered a few times and disappeared in the darkness.
Only ordinary disciples? It seems that this Amara is wealthy. Who says we can't find something valuable from ordinary people? Who knows? Maybe Amara is a fake identity too. Okay, I'll continue rummaging then.
2 minutes later, Zane Martel collected everything he should and should not collect. Then he activated his wind serpent step and rushed toward the Dark Wolf Hall. All sects in the Imperial capital would be aware of the huge commotion. Even the Dark Wolf Hall would also be involved. Sure enough, when he arrived at the main entrance of the Dark Wolf Hall, he saw many disciples of the Goodwill sect blocking the entrance.
They're really here? It seems like I can't enter through the main entrance then.
Zane Martel activated the Wind Serpent step and combined the power of wind of the major completion into it. Almost no one saw him climb over the wall and swiftly return to his room. In the room, Kevin White and the rest of the Blade Squad were anxiously waiting for Zane Martel's return.
Your Highness, how is it going?
It failed. I didn't expect someone at the expert level to be on guard, and fortunately, I had the flash move token with me just in case. What about the others?
Zane Martel shook his head and looked a little regretful.
They are all here. We lost no one.
Good. Don't tell anyone else about what happened tonight. You guys should go get some rest first.
But the Goodwill sect disciples are out there in the courtyard.
Don't worry. Someone will take care of them. Dark Wolf Hall won't deserve their title if they can't even block some disciples of the Goodwill sect.
Kevin White and the others nodded and returned to their rooms. Zane Martel also quickly freshened up, got dressed, and walked near the main entrance. At that moment, there were at least 100 disciples of the Goodwill sect gathered outside the Dark Wolf Hall main entrance, and they were all in the advanced level. They were all armed and roaring angrily.
Let us in and search, or you can't afford to bear the consequences if that intruder is hiding inside the Dark Wolf Hall.
The leader of the group was a tall young man wearing battle armor, and he was a third level in the level.
That's nonsense. This is the Dark Wolf Hall's territory. Who do you think you are to barge in at your will? None of you can step into the Dark Wolf Hall main entrance today.
That's right. You've gone too far to assume the intruder is hiding inside the Dark Wolf Hall. Is this a joke? The intruder chose to barge into your place because you're too weak to defend yourselves. Who else can you blame for this?
That's right.
The disciples of the Dark Wolf Hall blocked the main entrance and mocked them.
What did you say? How dare you?
Both sides were at their wits' end, and the situation was almost getting out of control. A battle could start at any time. Seeing Zane Martel was there, Katie waved at him and walked over to him with a frown.
Larry Shaw, have you heard about what happened tonight?
This group of shameless people from the Goodwill sect had the guts to come here to the Dark Wolf Hall and cause a scene.
What do you think we should do?
The corners of Zane Martel's lips lifted slightly, revealing a sinister and dangerous smile as he spoke.
We will resort to violence with people like them.
Violence? No way. We are in the Imperial capital, and the Goodwill sect has people all around the Imperial capital. Although I don't like the Goodwill sect, I know they will never let anyone provoke them and get away with that.
Katie was very conflicted, and she frowned hard.
Where are the others?
He noticed only Katie and him were there among the wolf prince and princesses.
The others and elders are blocking the other entrances, or the Goodwill sect will turn the Dark Wolf Hall upside down.
Zane Martel placed his hands behind his back and walked calmly over to the entrance. After seeing Stephen walking toward them, the others quickly made way for him and concealed some of their flames.
It's His Highness Stephen. I wonder if he can take care of this.
Some people whispered among the crowd.
The Dark Wolf Hall's territory. Do you have the guts to search this place?
What a joke. This is the Imperial capital, the Goodwill sect's territory. Since when did this place belong to the Dark Wolf Hall? Earlier tonight, the intruder almost abducted someone away from the Goodwill sect. We must find the intruder even if we have to turn Dark Wolf Hall upside down.
The tall young man was enraged. Zane Martel smiled and took a step back coldly.
If that's the case, if you have the guts, then come in. But then, you must understand, my fists are especially effective at getting rid of rats and pests. If I see some rats that shouldn't exist within this area, I will not hesitate to get rid of them.
The tall young man was unbothered, thinking Zane Martel was just trying to intimidate them. Seeing Zane Martel was only at the second stage of the advanced level, the tall young man refused to think Zane Martel could hurt him, nor would Zane Martel have the guts to attack them.
You're bluffing. I don't believe you. Hit me if you dare.
The tall young man took a step inside. A fist with terrifying strength landed on the tall young man's face and sent him flying hundreds of meters away. In the end, he was dragged more than 10 meters on the ground before coming to a halt. The disciples of the Goodwill sect were furious and glared at Zane Martel, cursing him.
How dare you make a move? You must be sick of living.
Many disciples of the Dark Wolf Hall, including Katie, looked at Zane Martel in disbelief. Although they were not weaker than the Goodwill sect, they still dared not make a move against the Goodwill sect. After all, they were standing on the Goodwill sect's territory. Each movement they made could bring unbearable consequences.
Well, you saw it. He asked me to hit him. I've never seen a stranger request more than this.
Yes, that's right. He told us to hit him.
Exactly.
Many instantly reacted by holding back their laughter and voicing out in support for Zane Martel. On the ground, the tall young man staggered to his feet. He looked haggard, with two front teeth being knocked out, and his hair was disheveled, making him look hideous. His strong fighting spirit from earlier had disappeared. and he looked like a clown standing before the main entrance to Dark Wolf Hall. The tall young man felt wronged and angry. He had never suffered such a grievance, yet a junior from Dark Wolf Hall dared to hit him. How could he put aside this humiliation? What will the Goodwill sect do next? Will they retaliate or retreat in disgrace? Stay tuned to find out.
How dare you? Even if I have to bear the consequences of initiating a war between our sects, I swear to kill you today.
The tall young man walked over angrily with a long sword in his hand. The gravel on the ground trembled with every step he took. The disciples of the Goodwill sect next to him all made way for him. They held their breath and dared not act recklessly.
Die!
The tall young man raised his sword high, and with a flash he directly waved his sword at Zane Martel's head. The wind blew strongly and the momentum was thunderous. Zane Martel frowned and did not take his opponent seriously. He struck out his palm.
Thunderbolt fist.
The golden red light slammed heavily on the young man, sending him flying out again and crushing him to the ground. His bones were crushed in an instant as if they were made of tofu, and he cried miserably.
Ah! Let go of me! Now!
Zane Martel smiled but did not withdraw his attack. Instead, he flipped his palm and controlled the Thunderbolt fist to press down even harder. The ground shook, revealing a huge pit beneath the tall young man. His hair was disheveled, and he was spitting out blood. Although not dead, he was still severely injured.
How did Larry Shaw defeat someone in the third stage in the advanced level so effortlessly? Did he become stronger again?
Katie was dumbfounded and noticed she couldn't read through Zane Martel's actual strength.
Come in, you people who want to be rats. I welcome you with both hands.
Zane Martel smiled and cracked his fists, showing a sinister cold light under his eyes. He swept a glance at the disciples of the Goodwill sect, and they shuddered in fear. How could they barge inside when such a powerful figure was guarding the entrance? Also, who could guarantee there would be no traps waiting for them in there? They could be trapped and killed inside. After all, Dark Wolf Hall and the Goodwill sect were never friends, and they had long been holding grudges against each other. They fell silent, gritting their teeth and clenching their fists.
Well, we will remember everything that happened today. Just wait and see what we will do to you during the sect competition.
That's right, let's go.
They pulled up the tall young man and quickly fled the scene. Many among the crowd heaved a sigh of relief after the crisis was resolved, and they admired Zane Martel even more. To them, it was no surprise Stephen was the one who had the guts to do such a thing. Little did they know, the Stephen they admired so much was also the culprit that had caused everything to happen that night. It wasn't out of courage, but more like he had no regard for rules and regulations. After the crisis was resolved, Zane Martel returned to his place.
Since I can't abduct Beth anymore, I can only come up with a plan during the sect competition.
Zane Martel sighed, after which he entered the dragon prison and began to refine the 2 bottles of blood essence that he had exchanged before this. In the dragon prison, he sat under the huge devouring dragon bone in the sky and first took out a bottle of blood essence. Zane Martel opened his mouth and swallowed a few drops of blood essence, after which he began to refine them within his body. Although the blood essence content was relatively low, it was still the blood essence of an ancient demonic beast. After entering Zane Martel's body, the blood essence started surging wildly like an animal. In the end, the blood essence was still completely refined by Zane Martel. Then, he took out the bottle of white jade blood essence. Although there was only 1 drop of blood essence, it was probably more than 10 times more precious than the blood essence from before. After all, this was an ancient demonic beast blood essence without contamination.
This will surely enhance my strength significantly. I must use it wisely.
With a resolute expression, Zane Martel prepared himself to refine the precious drop of white jade blood essence.
I wonder what that old man was thinking to change such a scarce blood essence with a celestial life. Although the celestial life pill is also very precious, I have several hundreds of them, which only proves how scarce the blood essence is.
He opened the bottle lid, and a drop of blood essence that was so red that it almost turned maroon floated in the air. Then he opened his mouth and swallowed it. The blood essence was absorbed into Zane Martel's stomach and was slowly refined. Inside his body, his energy and blood were churning, and his vital energy surged. It was as if rivers and seas were being overturned as a huge change occurred. A strong wind began sweeping in the dragon prison, mixed with occasional sounds of thunder. 3 hours later, Zane Martel finally refined the blood essence. He looked up at the devouring dragon bone in the sky and was a little disappointed.
It seems that after I advance to the advanced level, I need more of the ancient demonic beast's blood essence. 1 or 2 drops of blood essence is not enough to make any changes to the devouring dragon bone. It seems that I must find a way to collect more.
After refining the blood essence, Zane Martel walked into the beast blood pool, which had been upgraded to the 3rd stage. Zane Martel discovered that the beast blood pool in the 3rd stage no longer was effective in upgrading one's cultivation. Instead, it could help him train his physique. In other words, the beast blood pool and willpower gear were now in charge of cultivating his physique and willpower. He took out a handful of crystals and placed them on the altar. Then he stripped down and soaked himself in the beast blood pool. A formation lit up and the blood pool started biting his body like insects and ants, which was extremely painful. But the more painful it was, the more terrifying its effects were in enhancing his physique. 4 days were left before the sect competition. Zane Martel simply stayed in the dragon prison for the next few days to cultivate himself. After all, the Goodwill sect was busy looking for the intruder in the outside world. He might as well stay out of that. Moreover, he could hide from them while in the dragon prison. 4 days passed in the blink of an eye. The blood in the beast blood pool had almost been consumed entirely, and Zane Martel's physical strength was significantly improved. He clenched his fists and felt the changes in his body, which made him thrilled.
I feel that my physique has risen to another level. With my current skills, I think I am already on par with the 4th stage of the advanced level. It's a pity that I've consumed way too much blood in the beast blood pool, and human blood will no longer be useful with it being in the 3rd stage. It will require the demonic beast's blood from now on, and the higher level of the blood essence will bring better effects. I can only imagine the astronomical figure of crystals required. Anyway, as long as I can boost up my cultivation and skills, I'm willing to pay the price. Now it's time to participate in the sect competition.
With this in his mind, Zane Martel left the dragon prison and pushed open the door to his room. Kevin White was anxiously guarding outside the door.
Your Highness, you finally came out of your seclusion. Her Highness Katie came looking for you in the morning, but I told her you're in seclusion and made her leave.
I see. All right. I'll go look for her now.
Zane Martel nodded and went to Katie's room. Meanwhile, Katie seemed to be preparing something. After seeing Zane Martel, she immediately stood up and said,
Larry Shaw, you're finally out of seclusion. Today is the first day of the sect competition, and I was worried you'll forget the time.
That will never happen. Come on, let's get moving.